Good morning, media literacy. So we know from the past few weeks that there's always somebody trying to persuade us, perhaps try to trick us, fool us. So we are going to now start talking about specific persuasive techniques that are used not just in media, but in all types of communication. So the question here that we have today is, how does the media persuade us? Okay, so this is called Persuasive Techniques, Part 1. Our objectives. When we're done with this lesson, you will be able to define persuasion, identify claims being made in various media sources, explain how ethos, also known as ethical appeal, pathos, also known as emotional appeal, and logos, also known as logical appeal, are used in various media sources. And you should be able to explain how message makers, those are the people making the messages, prey on the hopes and fears of the audience. So first of all, persuasion, and if you want a more detailed definition, you can click on this link. But persuasion is basically to convince the reader or audience to think or do something. Okay? This is when the person creating the message wants us to buy something, think something, vote a certain way, believe a certain thing. And we generally use persuasion with people who don't already agree with us, because there's no reason to persuade somebody who already agrees with us. So the first term you need to know is the word claim. Okay? When I say claim, that is a declaration that something is true, a declaration that something is factual. So right now I am going to claim that my dog is annoying. Okay, my dog is annoying because every time I'm trying to create a video lesson for you, she sees something outside and starts barking like she is right now. See, there she goes. She's a good dog. So in persuasion, again, a claim is something that's a claim is a declaration of something that is true or factual. I'm sorry. So in the last year, we heard a lot of campaign slogans because we had a presidential election, right? So these presidential campaign slogans are claims, a declaration that something is true. So Donald Trump claims he will make America great again, or he claimed that he would make America great again. And Joe Biden claimed that our best days still lie ahead. So if we compare and contrast these campaign slogans, okay, we see that both of them are claiming that they are going to improve our nation. Donald Trump's implies that America used to be great at some point in history and that it needs to be made that way again. So it's looking at the past and using the past to gauge how America should look. While Joe Biden's is totally forward thinking. It is the idea that our best days are not yet here, but they will. I am sorry about the interruptions today, but this is life. Anyway, I was saying that Trump's slogan claimed that America was great at some time in the past and it needs to be great again. It's backward thinking, whereas Joe Biden's is forward thinking. The idea that, everything that we can be is yet to come. So one thing I want to make very clear to you is that especially when politicians are creating campaign slogans and making claims, although it's not just politicians, it's also advertisers, people who want us to sell, or people who want us to buy something, people who want us to do something, they tend to prey on one of two things, our hopes or our fears. Okay? Our hope that things will be better or our fear that things will get worse. So when we see Obama's, one of his initial campaign posters from 2008 when he originally ran for president, literally the word hope is on his campaign poster. Literally. Okay? He also has this little O here, which I think is interesting when we look at this because it almost looks like this is the sun. The O for Obama is the sun. And then this looks like land and stripes like the flag. Like as if there's a sun here in the middle and it is rising on a new day. So it's kind of like, we don't really think about it consciously, but it's like that little image is almost saying that the sun is rising on a new day. There is hope for the future. It's also all in red, white, and blue. So we're hoping that America will get better. This one over here is a World War II poster that preys on fears. Okay, so we have the United States of America here on the globe, and then we have a couple of very vicious looking enemies. This one is a Japanese soldier. He has the Japan flag there. And this one is a Nazi soldier. He has the Nazi swastika here and his gun and the knife. And the text says our homes are in danger now. Our job, keep them firing. So this is probably a war bonds poster trying to get you to buy war bonds so that you can help fund the fight in World War II. So this is preying on our fear that things will get worse if we don't help support the war. Okay? Hope and fear as a general rule. Those trying to persuade us are going to prey on our hopes and fears. So we just talked about what claims are being made in each image. The claim here is there is hope for a better day. There's a new day on the horizon. If we vote for Barack Obama, things will get better. The claim being made here, things are terrible. They can only get worse. And if you don't support World War II, then things are going to be very, very perilous for all of us. Okay? Hope, fear. So when we look at the following slides, we're going to look at the big three persuasive techniques. Okay? Most other types of persuasive techniques fall under one of these three categories. Those three categories are ethos, logos, and pathos. So ethos relies on credibility and ethics. That means, credibility means we can believe that person. Okay? If we see ethos or an ethical appeal, that means that the person who is speaking to us or sending us the message, we assume that they're some kind of an expert, so we can believe what they say. Logos is an appeal to our logic and our reason. This is a kind of appeal where they are trying to use probably facts, figures, data in order to appeal to our reasoning in our brain. And pathos is the appeal to emotion. It's the idea that if they can just touch our emotions and our feelings and get an emotional reaction out of us, that then they can persuade us to come to their side. Okay? So as we look at each of these slides, I want you to consider what claims are being made and how does each of these claims prey on our hopes or fears. So the first one is an ethical appeal. What we see here is a doctor smoking a cigarette. This is an actual ad, probably from the 1960s. There were a lot of studies done in the 1960s that showed that cigarettes are very dangerous and cause cancer and all sorts of health problems. So as a result, cigarette companies were starting to lose business. Because, believe it or not, there was a point in time when like almost everybody smoked everywhere. Anywhere you went, people could have cigarettes hanging out of their mouths. Grocery stores, movie theaters, airplanes. Okay? It was very socially acceptable to smoke. So what happened was when these studies came out saying smoking is bad for you, the cigarette companies had to come up with a way to get us to believe that we should still buy cigarettes even though they're not good for our bodies. So this ad has a guy who looks like a doctor. This here claims he's a doctor. And it says, according to repeated nationwide surveys, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. So if we look at this ad and we assume this is a real doctor, what is the claim here? Okay? The claim is that specifically, literally, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. But the implied claim here is that Camels are more healthy for you than other kinds like Newports or Marlboros or Pall Malls or whatever. Because if a doctor smokes this cigarette, then it must not be all that bad for you. Okay? So it's an ethical appeal because we believe what a doctor tells us about health. They're credible. We believe what a doctor tells us about health. Okay? So this is an ethical appeal. Usually uses a person specifically who's an expert. So, presents the speaker as a credible and knowledgeable source. We should believe the source because he or she should know. The next one is an emotional appeal. Emotional appeal. So pathos in Greek literally means suffering. So it's the idea if we can get somebody to suffer with us, they can connect with us. They know what we're feeling. So this is not an advertisement, but a newscast that actually uses ethical appeal. So let's take a look at this particular newscast. Appeal to our emotions.
In neighboring Syria, it took a child to open the world's eyes to the horrors there. We brought you the story behind this dramatic image last week. A young boy stunned and bloodied after he was rescued from Aleppo's rubble. Yet he is one of among tens of thousands of children trapped by war there. NBC's Kelly Kobiea with more on their struggle.
In Aleppo, the songs and smiles never last for long. A little girl singing for her family in her home when the war comes crashing in. She wasn't hurt in the airstrike, but thousands of Syria's children can't say the same. Like 5-year-old Omran Daknish, the little boy whose dazed and bloodied face captured the world's attention last week. His older brother Ali was also hurt. Ali died on Saturday. Aleppo's children are in crisis. 75,000 living in a war zone, no running water, no school. This is what playtime looks like now. Kids playing war. Like 11-year-old Mohammed. His father, Ali Abuljud, says his son had nightmares about airstrikes. I'd hold him and kiss him and tell him it's okay, Ali said. On Saturday, the bombs fell on his home. Mohammed was inside with sisters Afra and Aisha and little brother Obeda. 4 children gone in one night. I want our voices, not just my voice, but all of our voices to reach the entire world, Ali says. I want the whole world to hear us. Kelly Kobiea, NBC News, London.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking.
Okay, so that particular newscast appeals to our emotions. We see those children, we hear about those children suffering, we hear about those children dying, and the whole process makes us feel like, oh my gosh, we need to do something to help save these poor children in Syria from the war. Okay, so that is pathos, emotional appeal. The last of the big 3 is logos, or the logical appeal. So this uses reasoning and facts to persuade us. So the emotional appeal, pathos, appeals to our heart. Okay? The logos, logical appeal, appeals to our head, what we think versus what we feel. So if we look at this particular public service announcement, it says drivers who text are 23 times more likely to crash. And drivers who talk on the phone are 4 times more likely to have an accident. So basically, this is appealing to our logic by using statistics. What it's telling us is that if we text while we're driving, we're 23 more times to crash our cars than if we were not texting. And it tells us if we talk while we're on our phones while we're driving, we're 4 times more likely to have an accident than if we were not talking on the phone. And that texting is far more dangerous than talking on the phone. But either way, if we do that, we are going to increase our likelihood of having an accident. Okay? So it uses reasoning and facts to persuade us. So our activity for today is this. I'm going to give you a media link, and you are going to work with a partner. I have your partner identified for you on your slide. Okay? So with a partner, you're going to identify, 1, is the media using ethos, pathos, or logos? Or is it using a combination of more than one? That's a possibility. 2, I want you to tell me the claim. Okay, what is it that this particular message maker is claiming to be true? What is their declaration of fact? What do they want us to believe? And finally, how does that claim prey on our hopes and or on our fears? Because if we look back at this previous slide, okay, this one preys on our fear that if we use our phones while we are driving, we will crash. Okay, so it's using our fears and it's using a logical appeal to try to convince us not to use our phones in our cars. So here's the process. I want you to look for your name on one of the following slides. That is your slide. Please do not type on or edit anybody else's slides. 2, in your box, I want you to type your responses. Your partner will type his or her thoughts into the other box on the other side of the slide. Again, I have identified your partner for you, and I have put their email address in a comment box on the slide for you. 3, once you've both finished your responses, you're going to collaborate to finish the middle of the slide. So for day 1, here's what we're going to do. This is Tuesday's work. So if we look at this next slide, we see we have Ricky on this side and Cayman on the other. Okay? Today, Tuesday, you only need to worry about your side of the slide. Please get this done on time so that tomorrow you can work with your partner. So there are 3 questions for each person. It's the same question for each person. Is this media using ethos, pathos, or logos? So you're going to open up your link. This is the link that I have assigned to Cayman and Ricky. Each slide has different links, but this is theirs. So they're going to look at this and they're going to determine, first of all, okay, what is being used here, ethos, pathos, or logos, or is it a combination? And they're going to explain that here. I think it's using blank because, and then explain. 2, what is the claim? Okay, what does the maker of this message want us to think, do, or believe? What are they trying to prove? And 3, how does that claim prey on our hopes and or our fears? Please answer in complete sentences, incomplete thoughts, and give reasons for your responses. So Ricky will answer over here, Cayman will answer over there. That's Tuesday. On Wednesday, then, you're going to come back to your slides and you're going to look at each other's responses. And I want you to communicate with one another. Again, I have put your email addresses there so you can communicate with one another. And you're going to do this center part. So Ricky and Cayman will work together on the center part to type up a paragraph response for the middle box. It says, after you have each completed your own notes, get together and type a paragraph that analyzes your media. Be sure to answer all 3 questions in your paragraph. Type your response in this box. So when you do your own work by yourself, you can just answer, in a sentence or 2. But when you guys collaborate, you need to make sure that there is a full paragraph written here. I don't care how you decide to do that. I don't care who you decide writes the final draft, but I want you to both be a part of that process. If by Wednesday afternoon your partner has not done their part, then I need you to do it yourself. Unfortunately, that's the way group work sometimes goes. But rest assured that they will not get credit for your work if you have to do the middle section yourself on Wednesday. Okay? So, ethos, pathos, logos. That's what we're starting with today. Get used to them. Know the word claim. Think about hope and fear. Okay? How do people try to persuade us using our hope for a better future or our fear of what terrible things could happen in the future? And I will talk to you guys on Jaguar Live on Friday. You have 2 days to do this assignment. Have a great day.